All right, today we're going to do a quick overview of the add-ons I use. Pretty much there's a huge list of add-ons that people use to play the game. I've been getting a lot of requests about what I use specifically when I play Rogue, so we're going to go right through that. We'll kind of do this in order of importance, but the first add-on I use the most, the one I would install instantly if I got a new computer, is WeakAuras. WeakAuras really just kind of bringing important game events front and center on your screen, whether that's with an audio cue or a visual cue. And then there's also some quality of life things you can get from WeakAuras. WeakAuras community develops, they're not add-ons per se, but community developed tools. One that I use is if I take off deadly poison here, this is a WeakAuras. So all this is doing is saying if I don't have deadly poison active, give me a little reminder. This is very important for your damage to have your poisons up at all times. I was having the problem where I kept starting a key without my poisons, and as soon as I apply that, it goes away. So that's just like a nice reminder for me, hey, you need your poisons. The other thing that I use WeakAuras for is all of this in the center of my screen is powered by a WeakAuras that I wrote. It tracks my buffs, it tracks my cooldowns. You really want to track your cooldowns because if you're not using your cooldown the second it comes off a CD, sometimes you're losing value. You know, if you hold on to Deathmark for 2 minutes because you didn't know what was up, you could have already sent another Deathmark, right? So it's very important. And then as you get into the higher key level, your defensives are very important. So I track my defensives here, so I know what abilities I have left. And you might say, well, all that information is available down here, right? That is true, but everything that is important in the game is going to be happening up here. What these dummies or what these enemies are casting, the spells they're casting, what I need to kick. If there's swirlies on the ground I need to dodge. Everything that I need to care about in the game is going to be right here. So if you're constantly moving your eyes back and forth between these two, you're just opening yourself up for opportunities to make mistakes, to miss kicks, or to die to a swirly on the ground. So that's why I put everything here. The other nice thing about WeakAuras is you can really fine tune what you want to see or what you care about, right? So as soon as I hit mutilate here, I care about caustic spatter, right? So I get to choose which buffs or debuffs I want to see more about. If I vanish here, and I ambush, I have my Death Stalker mark right here, so I can track the amount of stacks. I have my Scent of Blood stacks. And so all this is powered through a WeakAuras I wrote. You know, I code for a living, so I'm pretty comfortable with like the basics in WeakAuras. But if you're not comfortable with that, there's a site called wago.io where you can kind of download my WeakAuras, or you can download other people's WeakAuras. I bet other people's WeakAuras are a lot better than mine, but like I said, mine is perfect, like personally tailored to me. So that's what it looks like in the WeakAuras edit window. You know, I can go to my Kingsbane Watcher, and we're not going to get into like how WeakAuras work, you know, that I'm sure there's plenty of good tools online for that. Going back to the target dummies, the next add-on I use, and there's a couple add-ons that do this. I'm currently testing out Plater. But before Plater, I was using an add-on called Nameplate Auras. And basically the only reason I use this is so I can track enemy or debuffs on the enemy specifically, right? So this big one here is Iron Wire. It's really important when I'm in a key trying to maintain Iron Wire in the beginning to know when it's about to fall off so I can reapply it. And then we have our Ruptures and Garrotes here. Honestly, the only time I really use this is in like 2-target cleave when I'm like attacking the boss and I need to know, okay, look, this rupture ran out on this other target. I'm going to manually reapply it, and then I'm going to go back into my main target. But that's just like a quality of life. I think I'm going to put Death Stalker mark on here so I know which one of these enemies, if I'm tab targeting around, I know which one has my Death Stalker mark. But that's really all I use Plater / Nameplate Auras for. It also adjusts like my health bar, but that's not really what I use it for. I use it for getting the debuffs on my target. The next add-on I use is Cell. So what that does is replace Blizzard's party frames with Cell's party frames. And the reason this is really nice is because you can customize what shows up on these frames and where. So when I hit feint, I can see my defensive here, and I know how much time I have left on feint. If I hit evasion, same deal. This is more helpful when you're a healer and you want to know what everyone else in the group is hitting as a defensive, so you can know, okay, I need to help out here. Or if you're playing like an augmentation evoker, you know, if the healer pops a cooldown, you don't have to pop your Zephyr, for instance. The other nice thing about this is when you get targeted with an ability, it'll show up here. So this is just like a very nice tool that kind of gives you more information about how your party is doing and who's getting hit with what. I use this a lot if I get targeted with ability and I need to hit feint. This is what I'm looking at. I'm usually looking at my party frames to say, oh, I'm getting hit with throw flesh from Necrotic Wake. I need to pop something. But that's mostly what it is. It's just like a quality of life thing to see debuffs, to see defensive usage, things like that. The next thing I want to talk about is details. So that's this guy here. And of course, I've hit the training dummy too many times. I lost my dungeon slice. So give me a second. I'll switch characters. We'll edit this out and I'll show you details on somebody that actually has a key. All right, so this is where you can kind of look at how you did in a key compared to the other people in your group. And it kind of just gives you an at a glance more information about how you performed. It's not like the Bible or gospel by any means, but it's very helpful for like, okay, why did I die? You know, you can see, okay, this guy died to Iron Ambush, probably could have used a potion to save himself, right? Here he died to Iron Ambush again in the same 2 seconds. Not sure how that's possible. He must have hit Bonk. And then here he got meleeed, right? So maybe the tank died, whatever the case may be. The other nice thing about this is there's a bunch you can see. You can see interrupts. Please never use this to flame your teammates, but you can be like, you can see where you stack up and be like, okay, I need to focus on interrupting more, right? If you're at the bottom of this list, if you're a rep paladin, if you're a melee DPS and you're at the bottom, I'll blank out these names. You shouldn't be at the bottom, right? You should have more than 2 kicks. There's also some cool things like cooldown usage, right? So how often did I hit Bark Skin? How often did I hit feint? This is also really good to analyze if you're comparing yourself to some of the higher keys. I think I had a key where I did 80 feints, you know, and if you're only at 10 feints, you're probably not hitting that button enough. So this is a nice like pulse check on how you're doing with your damage. It's also good to see, okay, where's my damage coming from and the damage breakdown. How does that compare to other players? Is it similar? If the top player's #1 damage is Rip, but your #1 damage is Ferocious Bite, okay, maybe you're not playing the class right. Maybe there's something functionally about your rotation that you're not doing right. So that's kind of how I use details. The next is OmniCD, which I won't be able to show off because I'm not in a key, but I'll play some B-roll in the background. OmniCD is kind of really nice for tracking your other players' offensive and defensive CDs. And for interrupts. The biggest reason I use this is to track interrupts. I'll show what that looks like on the screen. It's really important, especially if you're in a pug, to know when other people are using the interrupts, right? The first boss of Mist of Tyrannus Scythe comes to mind. You need to have a 3 interrupt rotation. So if you are monitoring the interrupts, you can know, okay, 4 interrupts are down, I have to get the next kick. That's mostly what I use it for. You can also track offensive abilities. The only time I really track this is with like an Ellie Shaman who has a 3-minute cooldown. If I see that the Ellie Shaman has Ascendance up and we're going into a big pack, I might save my cooldowns to make the dungeon more efficient. Because Ascendance is such a powerful cooldown, if all 3 of the DPS hit their offensive CDs at the same time Ascendance is going off, depending on the pack, that can be pretty wasteful. So that's another good reason to have Omni-CD. It's like, I would say not necessary for a new player, but as you grow your knowledge in the game and you start getting a better understanding of how other classes work, it's very helpful. The last add-on I want to talk about is DBM, and that's really just a quality of life. The DBM dungeon specifically, it's going to yell at you when you're in danger, it's going to yell at you when you're standing under stuff, it's going to tell you when to interrupt for important kicks. It's really helpful, and you should definitely use it. But that's it. Like, those are the only add-ons that I would say are mandatory. I have a couple like profession related add-ons, but nothing that I use when I tackle keys. So hopefully the B-roll works out and you get some good footage out of this. But thanks for watching and good luck out there.